In today's episode, the Mark V or TF Ford Cortina of Australia. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight. If you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel looking at car brochures from around the world. Welcome to new and old viewers. Anyway, like I say, in today's episode for Ford Friday, every Friday we look at a Ford, we're actually going to Australia to look at the Mark V, or as it was known in Australia, the TF Ford Cortina. We never actually looked at this particular variation of the Cortina yet. Of course, we've looked at the Mark V many times in its various forms in the UK, but never in the Australia because it wasn't very successful and wasn't out very long. But we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. Let's turn our attention to the brochure. So here is today's brochure. It's from Australia, like I said, and it's the all-range catalogue for Ford cars dated January 1981. At the bottom there it says Ford Sales Company of Australia Limited. Don't worry, we will zoom in a moment. Now, the main reason I actually picked this brochure to go through, last week we looked at Escort. Yes, it's every Ford in the range at the time for Australia. So last week with the Mark II Ford Escort, that was very late, wasn't it, for a Mark II Escort still to be sold. This week the Mark V Cortina. And really this is the whole reason I wanted to do this brochure, because it features the Mark V Ford Cortina of Australia, and regular viewers will know we do a lot of Cortina content, so it seemed weird that we've never actually featured this particular car. But then again, it wasn't out for very long. Anyway, let's zoom in on the front cover, because the front cover does of course show the Cortina. Main picture is a bit of a moody image of the S-packed version of a GL. Basically, you order your GL and say you want the S-packed version to make it a little bit more sporty, but there are better pictures inside. So let's turn our attention to inside the brochure itself. So this is where we ended last week, looking at the Mark II Escorts. Here it is then, the Mark V Ford Cortina, fine-tuned and re-engineered to beat the best. New Ford Cortina 4. Let's just zoom in on the picture. The car you aspired to own, the Ghia version with those lovely alloy wheels. But let's move on by having a look at the range itself, and rather weirdly in this brochure it starts with the Ford Cortina Ghia, which is weird. And some brochures do start with the top model and work their way down, although we noticed last week with the Escort it started with the base models, worked its way up, but this starts with the Ghia and then goes to the L and then GL, which is a weird formula, but I guess they was really promoting the Ghia version at this time. Now, we did mention, of course, that this version, the last throw of the dice of the Cortina, came very late in Australia. It was released in April 1980, which is a strange time to throw it on there. Sold actually very poorly, and then was quietly dropped, I guess, soon after this brochure in 81. So a very short run for it. A website called Drive suggested very firmly that this model in its 6-cylinder versions was a lemon, as well as dubious build quality and hard ride. It had a large 6-cylinder under the bonnet and no weight in the back, and therefore an ill-handling and unwieldy monster. Now, of course, in Australia the engine choices were different. So the engine choices in Australia, your standard engine throughout the range actually would have been a 4-cylinder 2-litre actually, which, fair enough. Now you can option it on any model, including the base L, to have a 3.3 6-cylinder engine, which, it's a big engine, but you can even option it to have a 4.1 6-cylinder on all but the base L model, which is, it was never really designed to have a 4.1, so you can imagine it would be an ill-handling and unwieldy monster with a 4.1 in there, all that weight on the front end. Still, I wouldn't mind one. I'm sure it was an interesting drive nevertheless. Anyway, let's have a look at the text and we'll come back to the images. So yeah, the brochure starts off with the top of the range Ghia model, Ford Cortina Ghia, as good as it looks. The name Ghia identifies this exclusive Cortina as the most luxurious, fully equipped of the range. A car marketed by distinctive exterior styling touches such as body side pinstripes and European style alloy road wheels. Inside, deep cut pile carpeting extends onto the doors for extra soundproofing. The body contoured seating is tastefully upholstered with rich fabrics, and matte pockets are provided on the rear of the front seats and on the front doors. Naturally, the console includes a stereo cassette player. The radio aerial is power operated. Ford Cortina Ghia is very quiet, relaxing way to travel. Console mounted 4-speed manual floor shift transmission is standard, or optional 3-speed T-bar automatic is available at extra cost. Then we get a little bit of a peep on the inside of your Australian Ford Cortina Ghia, and we can see this is option to have that 3-speed T-bar automatic. And further look on the inside, no sign of any sort of wood or anything in there on this Ghia model. You'll notice we've got the sort of A-framed headrests in a different colour, which looks a bit unusual. Seats themselves do look nice though. So the Ford Cortina Ghia sedan standard equipment highlights as for the Cortina GL sedan, but with these different upgraded or additional features. I guess this is why it seems a really weird order, because we've not even looked at the GL yet, but nevertheless. So wheels and brakes, we get the European style alloy road wheels as standard, which is nice because I know in Europe they were never keen on throwing on alloy wheels on anything Ford as standard. Tells you about the steel belt radial ply tyres. We get deep section body side protection mouldings, body side pinstripes. We get the left-hand exterior rear view mirror with swing away feature, and on the inside we get a stereo cassette player, European soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, power operated radio aerial, crushed velour cloth seat facings, cut pile carpet on the passenger compartment floor, carpeted kick pads on doors, tinted side and rear glass, tinted band laminated windscreen, intermittent windscreen wipers, outboard inertia reel seat belts, front and rear, comprehensive instrumentation, matte pockets on rear of front seats and on front doors, courtesy light in glove compartment and luggage compartment, remote control boot release, dual tone horn, vanity mirror in passenger side sun visor. And then we get the main image. Sadly, it falls on the crease, and sadly, in a lot of these Australian brochures, they like photographing them at night for whatever reason, but we can certainly clearly see that pinstriping going down the side, Ghia badge in its normal spot, and those protection rubbing strips going down the doors. Alloy wheels do look very nice though. Front bumper kind of like looks a little bit odd to European taste, that front bumper, doesn't it? Certainly a little bit different than what we get in Europe, and no overriders either. And then we tumble back down the range, don't we? Talk about the L on this side and then the GL on that side. Let's see what you get on your little L sedan. So standard equipment for your L, you get a 2-litre overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with temperature sensitive viscous clutch engine fan, transmission 4-speed manual, floor shift transmission, wheels and brakes slotted steel road wheels, tells you about the size of those radial ply tyres, power assisted front disc brakes, and then on the exterior rectangular quartz halogen headlights, a right hand side exterior rear view mirror with swing away feature, energy absorbing rim bumper bars. And on the interior, soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, reclined front bucket seats with see-through head restraints, inertia reel front seat belts, carpeted passenger compartment floor, rubber mat on luggage compartment floor, directional power boosted ventilation, 3-speed heater demister, lockable front passenger side glove box, interior courtesy light operated by front doors, instrument panel lighting with rheostat adjustment, cigarette lighter, prismatic day-night interior rear view mirror, black non-glare windscreen wipers, hazard flashers, rear door locks with child-proof setting, rear child restraint anchorages, steering column control stalks for turn lane chain signals, high-low beam, headlight flashers and horn, 2-speed windscreen wipers and windscreen washer. And then it moves on to the overall description. And like I say, I kind of like mixing the L and the GL together on this page. So it says, equipped for comfort, beautifully compact on the outside for tight, responsive manoeuvring, yet spacious and comfortably appointed inside. That's the Cortina L and GL sedan. Even the lowest price Cortina features deep foam reclining front bucket seats with improved hip and lower back support, a 4-spoke soft feel steering wheel, an excellent fresh air ventilation system, and a new sense of spaciousness achieved through a slimmer roofline and increased glass area. In the Cortina GL you'll find additional useful features such as a front centre console with armrest and storage bin, an AM push button radio, electric clock and rear seat centre armrest. Ford has given big consideration to the high feature levels of all Cortinas. Therefore, both the L and GL let you set your standards high without having you to pay a high price. So it's a bit mixed up, but I believe this is your L's interior. And then a better look at the GL's. Rather nice seats and nice little armrest at the front there. Looks quite nice for the time. It goes on to tell you about the GL by telling you standard equipment highlights as for the L sedan, but with these different upgraded or additional features. Wheels and tyres, styled steel road wheels, exterior body side protection mouldings, bright window mouldings, right hand exterior rear view mirror with interior remote control and swing away feature. On the inside we get a front centre console with armrest and storage bin, folding centre armrest in rear compartments, electric rear window demister, outboard passenger grab handles with integral coat hooks, interior courtesy lights operated by all 4 doors, AM push button radio and an electric clock. The main image, again, for whatever reason I've decided to photograph it at night, so it's not the best image, I must admit. Now it doesn't tell us, but we can see that the one in the background there is the Cortina L. So I would assume the red example is the GL version. So that's your main lineup really, L, GL and then the top model Ghia. And then we turn the page and that's then represented in the estate, or we should say wagon versions as we are looking in Australia here. So L, GL and Ghia wagons. Tells us a lot of load space, and indeed in the UK I used to like the Cortina estates, made a very practical vehicle. We'll start over here, I think, have a look at some of the text for what you could get on your L, and then I think it moves on to talk about the GL and then the Ghia. So the standard equipment highlights for the Cortina L wagon. So we get a 2-litre overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with temperature sensitive viscous clutch engine fan, transmission 4-speed manual floor shift, wheels and brakes slotted steel road wheels, tells you about the size for the steel belt radials, power assisted front disc brakes on the inside, or rather the outside I should say, rectangular quartz halogen headlights, right hand side exterior rear view mirror with swing away feature, energy absorbing rim bumper bars, and then on the inside soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, reclined front bucket seats with see-through head restraints, inertia reel front seat belts, a carpeted passenger compartment floor, rubber mat on luggage compartment floor, directional power boosted ventilation, 3-speed heater, demister, lockable front passenger side glove box, interior courtesy light operated by front doors, instrument panel lighting with rheostat adjustment, cigarette lighter, prismatic day-night interior rear view mirror, black non-glare windscreen wipers, hazard flashers, rear door locks with child-proof setting, rear child restraint anchorages, steering column control stalks for turn lane change signals, high-low beam, headlight flashers and horn, and 2-speed windscreen wipers and windscreen washers. And at the bottom here, I guess it represents the 3 versions you can get. So the yellow is the L, the centre one is the GL, and then the red model at the bottom there is your Ghia. So it then gives us sort of like a general description of the L, GL and Ghia wagon. So for people who need even more roominess than the Cortina sedans offer, there's the new Cortina wagons. With the rear seat folded flat, there's the floor length of nearly 2 metres and load space of 1.81 cubic metres. Even with the rear seat up, you have a generous 0.93 cubic metres of load space. The rear opening is wide and deep, and the tailgate swings up in one easy action. With every Cortina wagon, you get the same tight manoeuvrability as the Cortina sedans, the same tight turning circle, rack and pinion steering, power assisted front disc brakes and a wide track, plus a similar equipment level to the equivalent sedan. And then talking about equipment levels, let's see what you get on your GL version. So it says as for the Cortina L, but with these different upgraded or additional features. Wheels and brakes, styled steel road wheels, exterior body side protection mouldings, bright window mouldings, right hand exterior rear view mirror with interior remote control and swing away feature, rear window wash wipe system. So you don't get the rear window wash wipe on your base L model. On the inside you get front center console with armrest and storage bin, electric rear window demister, outboard passenger grab handles, interior courtesy lights operated by all 4 doors, AM push button radio, electric clock, loop pile carpet on the load compartment floor. And then we do get a bit of a look at that rear wash wipe, which would be on the not the L, but the GL or the Ghia. So talking about the Ghia, let's have a look at the features you would get on your Ghia wagon. So basically, this is what you would get above your GL. So you get those rather lovely European style alloy road wheels. Exterior, deep section body side protection mouldings, body side pinstripes, left hand exterior rear view mirror with swing away feature, a rather lovely chrome finish roof rack, and then on the inside a stereo cassette player, European soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, power operated radio aerial, crushed velour cloth seat facings, cut pile carpet on the passenger compartment floor, carpeted kick pads on doors, tinted side and rear glass, tinted band laminated windscreen, intermittent windscreen wipers, comprehensive instrumentation, mat pockets on rear of front seats and on front doors, courtesy light in glove box, dual tone horn, vanity mirror in passenger side sun visor. And then have a look at the Ghia wagon. This is certainly the model I would have liked to have actually. I love that big chrome roof rack on there, love the alloy wheels and that little bit extra chrome. I think it looks really nice in Ghia form in the wagon. Just behind it, that's going to be your GL version. And then that takes us to the pack, so the S pack. Now the S pack you could only have on the GL version, either the sedan, but you could even have it on your GL weight wagon as well, which would make an interesting wagon for sure. So essentially making it into a GLS, I guess. But anyway, let's learn a bit more about it on the in the text. Have a look at some of these images as we go around. So the Cortina S-Pack, available at extra cost on GL sedans and wagons. Cortina style and comfort takes on a sporty image with the S-Pack. Along the side, bold bodyside tape striping is complemented by distinctive blackout treatments at the front, rear and sides. Twin long-range driving lights are also in black finish to blend in with the grille. Low profile 185/70 HR14 steel belt radial ply tyres, enhanced Cortinas. Road holding, steering response and ride confidence. Revised suspension is specially tuned to suit the performance characteristics of the tyres, which are fitted to new, larger diameter alloy road wheels. Inside, there's a European 4-spoke soft-feel steering wheel and comprehensive instrumentation, including tachometer, trip meter and oil gauge. Then we get an image of those very interesting looking alloy wheels you get with the S-Pack. A peek on the inside with that extra instrumentation. It then goes on to tell us at your fingertips there's a control stalk for intermittent windscreen wipers and washers, and in both sedans and wagons there's the extra comfort of wool blend seat facings, which actually I think looks really nice and certainly gives you that little bit of a sporty look. It then summarises what you get on the S-Pack above the GL. So we get the sports alloy road wheels, of course, 185/70 HR14 steel belt radial ply tyres. Exterior we get long range driving lights, left hand exterior rear view mirror with swing away feature. Deep section bodyside protection mouldings, bodyside striping, selective blackout treatment. On the inside we get comprehensive instrumentation, European soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, striped wool blend cloth seat facings, intermittent windscreen wipers, and then at the bottom it just says we can also get it with the Wagon version. So the main image is rather nicely a side view, but I think again they spoiled it by deciding to take these pictures at night. But let's zoom in a bit further. We can just about make out the driving lights at the front, which of course with Ford was always put on the sporting examples. Alloy wheels do look interesting, big bold S decals running down the side with these sort of stripes which do look interesting, and then that decal continues all the way to the end of the car. So that takes us to the end of the range, but we mustn't forget the options and specifications. Of course the engine sizes are included in there, so obviously that's the main difference between these and the European Cortinas. But let's start at the top and then we'll get our way down to reach the specifications for the engines. Now the writing itself is in these brochures is tiny, so I'm not going to spend too much time going through all the options, but we'll certainly have a look at things. We can get things like integrated air conditioning, an option on all the models, which obviously makes sense in Australia. We can even get leather seat facings on the Ghia as an option, not available on anything but the Ghia. And in fact you couldn't even get those leather seat facing on the Ghia Wagon, just the Ghia Saloon, rather unusually. Moving down, we get sports equipment like the S-Pack that we just looked at. Comprehensive instrumentation looks like it's an option throughout the range. Tinted band laminated windscreen, also an option throughout the range. We could have the long range driving lights on other models but not the L, and we could even have the alloy road wheels on other models apart from the L model. Looks like power equipment, as in power steering for the 6-cylinder models, was an option throughout the range. But would have been standard on your Ghia sedans and wagons. So if you got the Ghia and added the 6-cylinder model, a 6-cylinder engine on them, the Ghia models came with the power steering as standard. There's also something called the appearance equipment, which basically means you get metallic paint option on all the models apart from the Ghia, which was a no cost option. So that takes us to the engines. So the 2-litre cross-flow 4-cylinder engine with the 4-speed manual would have been the standard piece of equipment throughout the range, and then of course you can option that to have the T-bar automatic if you wanted. However, you could option those 6-cylinder engines, so the 3.3 litre cross-flow 6 with the 4-speed manual flow shift was an option again throughout the range. But you could go one step further and order that That monster of a 4.1 litre cross-flow 6-cylinder engine. Not available on your L models, but you could get it on any other model. So certainly a GL with the S-Pack with a 4.1 would have been an interesting option. So talking about the engines, the 2 litre was actually a 1998cc, the 3.3 6-cylinder was a 3272cc, and that big 4.1 litre was a 6-cylinder, or more precisely, a 4092cc engine. Rather interestingly then, it starts talking about the fuel economy, with the 2 litre 4-cylinder doing 40.4 miles per gallon on the highway, and the 3.3 6-cylinder doing 35.3 on the highway. And rather interestingly, completely ignores telling us what the fuel consumption of the 4.1 is. So there we go, an interesting range of Ford Cortinas for Australia. Wonder how many of them are still left in Australia. In the UK, our Cortinas suffered greatly from rot. I'm sure in some saltier areas in Australia the same could be said, but I'm sure some in the drier areas must still be running around. Tell me your stories. But thank you so much for watching today. If you've not already subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps you keep you in touch with the channel, and more importantly, completely free. You'd never be charged a penny for that. You can also, if you wish, become a member. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care. And as we end on this rear shot of the Ford Cortina Ghia, I'll remind you that we'll have some boxes that will pop up here. If you missed any episodes in this box, there will be the Escort, and eventually when we finish the series, the full series of these Australian cars will be all in one place. So make sure you have a look at that. But thank you so much for watching. Next week, Ford Falcon. Please do take care. See you very soon. All the best and goodbye.